Today I want to talk about practice-based research or proactive research. Now you can be faced with a whole bunch of text like this, and this has got some useful information about the principles and elements of design. However, a more practice-based research would mean that you practice some of these. And if we're going to apply this to a piece of artwork, I'm going to give you a quick demo in this journal on how you can do that. Here's Dr. Zeus from Fox in Socks. So what I'm going to do here is glue this in my journal. If you can't get to a photocopier at this time, then the thing to do is to leave a space in your journal for this and write down the reference of where you can find it, whether it's a website, what it is, so you can find that again, and when you can get access to a photocopier, you can copy that and stick it in your journal. Let's look at some of the principles to start with. So what I'm going to do here is a quick little sketch here, roughly knock in the shapes, and what we notice about this composition is that it's balanced. The crow's sort of in the center, he's heavier, she's out to the side a little bit more to balance that up a bit. It's a balanced composition, and balance is one of the principles of design. I can show that with a little bit more of an abstract, very rough, scribbly design, showing how the balance works. So we're not distracted by the actual images, we're actually looking more at the shapes or the tones, the contrasts, which again are elements, principles of design. Now if I run the pencil through the bodies like this, the other thing I can see with this composition is that it has movement. The swishy sway movements snaking through there, that's movement, which is another principle of design. So without even doing any research on Dr. Zeus himself, we're already finding out stuff about his art just by looking at the art alone. Okay, next comes the fun part. Let's have a closer look at the line work. And what we see is a very rough, very loose, very swishy sort of line. Line is one of the elements of design, and line can probably be one of the most expressive parts of the elements of design as well. And here's where the practical research really comes in. I'm going to imitate some of those lines. I'm doing it with a brush and Indian ink because I believe that's probably what Dr. Zeus was using when he did this. So I get the thicks and the thins, squiggly lines. I'm just sort of practicing bits, and the other part of this line is you use them in a certain way, it creates texture. We've got thick bold lines, we've got thin scribbly lines, we've got sort of dashes to build up texture. Line, texture, they are some of the elements of design. So remember, elements are what a design is made up of, and principles is how you put those elements together. Now, what if you don't have Indian ink? Here I am doing the same thing with watercolor. I'm still practicing, I'm still learning a lot by just imitating what I call a master here. What if you don't have watercolor? Well, I'm sure you got a ballpoint pen somewhere. So here I am doing part of it with ballpoint pen. I'm going to have to go over the lines a few times to get the thicks and thins, but I still get an idea and a feeling of this art. It's like walking a mile, or in this case walk a few inches in the shoes of another artist to learn stuff. You sometimes get more insight when you do this than you would if you was just reading a book about how he did it. Of course, you can always learn stuff from there. Now notice I do bits and pieces. I don't copy the whole thing because that would be a copyright infringement. The other thing is I would never publish or sell this or try and make money from it, and I'd shut the journal and not show anybody else. So copyright has to be respected. You're learning, but you're not completely copying. Now if you do this to a lot of different artists, just pick the artists you really love. After a while you start developing your own style, which is not derivative of any other artist. I'll talk more about copyright and how to create your own style and how to advance your art really quickly in future videos.